for the session.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rima, for the introduction. If anyone wants to have more information, I think she's going to put the link to In5. And as I always say, I mean, my collaborations with In5 come from the fact that I started with my startup in In5, and I can only talk good things about the ecosystem, the support that I got as all the startups that are in In5, the community, the free events that they have, like this one, the mentoring. So either if you are thinking on a startup idea or you are an entrepreneur or freelancer, they have different options. So thank you so much, Rima, again for the opportunity of being here.
Thank you.
And I'd appreciate if you can mute yourself. So we'll continue with the presentation. So I can't see you muted. Anyway, so let me explain you quickly who am I, and then I'll share my screen with you so you can go through the presentation, but we'll be bored about watching the slides. So let me allow you to show you my face for a few seconds. So who is Stefania? I am a brand strategist, digital marketing expert, and wellness entrepreneur. So I've walked the path. I know what it means to be an entrepreneur. I've started from scratch. So it's not that I talk based on the books. I talk based on experience and, of course, on the books as well, because I've been learning. But I've been on my entrepreneurial career now for 7 years. And one of the things that made me be an entrepreneur comes from a story that started out of pain. So back in 2011, I was working in Nokia, and I had a business idea at that moment, but I didn't know that I was going to be an entrepreneur. The people who know me, they always told me you have the blood of an entrepreneur, but sometimes you don't see that, right? So what happened at the time is that I had this business idea, but I had no idea on how you take this forward. It was just an idea, right? And I was sharing this idea with a friend. You know what? I think it would be cool if we could do ABC. I think this could be a business. I can see that revenues would come from here. Just to share with you, I come from marketing backgrounds. I studied a business degree, but I hadn't worked at that time on business models. But anyway, for me, it was looking like a solid idea. Anyway, I didn't do anything on that. That was the idea. Fantastic idea. Put it on a box. And to my surprise, after 2 months, this person had taken the idea, and in less than 2 months, created a website, created the packages, created the pricing, created everything to my surprise. Needless to say that he's not a friend anymore, he's an ex-friend right now. But apart from the fact that that person was not trustful, the pain was, okay, Stefania, you have something to take responsibility from, and you had an idea and you didn't take it forward. So I'm going to start sharing with you a thought that I'd like you to hold for the rest of the presentation, which is that vision without execution is pure hallucination. It's fantastic that you have an idea, and I guess that most of you are here because either you are thinking on becoming an entrepreneur, or you have an idea that you think it could turn into a business, or maybe you already have a startup, but if you don't execute, even when you have a business, it doesn't matter how many PR campaigns do you shoot, it doesn't matter how visible your brand is, if you don't execute and generate sales, this won't go anywhere. So I'd like to ask the people on the audience to have a better idea on which is the point that you are. I'd like to know how many people are having a company right now. So if you could write, I have a company, or if you just have an idea, but you haven't taken any step to move forward, so you can just type idea. If you don't have any idea yet, but you would like to become an entrepreneur, you can say no idea, for example. So I can see Abed El Rahman on idea stage, Jad Faguri, idea stage, Bismi, idea stage, marketing in a startup. Can we say learning? Obviously, yes, and that's a good point. So whenever you have an idea, you'll have already more knowledge established as a freelancer. Fantastic, Karen. Hello, Karen. Company setup in process, great. Company, fantastic. So there is quite a mix, and I like the fact that there are different situations: people who have a startup, people who have a business, freelancers, consultants, because this is the reality of the market, and this is what we are going to see moving forward. So let me continue. So how did I become an entrepreneur? A part of the story that I share is that years after I finished working for Nokia, I was looking for a job and I couldn't find anything really that I liked. And then I wanted to bring together something that would mix my marketing expertise with my passion for yoga and meditation. I am a certified yoga instructor and I've been practicing yoga for 15 years already, and a need in the market. And this is how I came with the idea of an online portal that would bring together everything and anything related to yoga and meditation in the Middle East with something that is a higher purpose that I have to have an impact on the others by sharing the practices of yoga and meditation. So what happened with this is that, talking again to a friend, I didn't share the idea this time, but I was talking about my job search and I don't know what to do, and I have this idea in mind. And this friend of mine is very active. I mean, he's pure execution. And when I was like, but I don't know if I'll take it forward, he looked at me, he smiled, and he said, you know what, Stefania, you keep on thinking, I'll keep on doing. And that was like a slap on my face. Again, it was like, no, Stefania, this time you're not going to miss the opportunity. This time you're going to execute. And this idea is not going to be on a box. And this is really how my entrepreneurial career started. It was ignition, it was action, it was moving forward. And that's why I talk about the 6 steps to become an entrepreneur, because if you don't put it into a frame, the idea is going to stay there forever. So I wanted to share with you, well, first the agenda, so you have an idea. I'm going to talk about some few current entrepreneurship trends, so you can understand where is the market heading. The main reasons of failure of entrepreneurs, I'll share with you 5 key areas that I would suggest for you to master in order to succeed. The 5-step plan to take this idea into a business, or if you already have a business, the 6 steps or the 6 areas that you really need to have in place. And then I'm going to introduce you to 3 successful entrepreneurs that have made it through the years from idea stage to succeeding with their different businesses, with bringing new businesses into the market. So we'll be able to learn from them. Questions and answers. You have the chat box open. So at any point you can shoot any question. I'll try to reply all of them. So let's start with the trends. I don't have to explain too much about the COVID-19. We are still into the moment of nearly coming out of the lockdown, not coming out of the COVID-19 economic situation. And I want to share with you 3 behavioral trends that are right now in the market and that are going to shape the future of the companies, entrepreneurship, and probably any new ideas that will come into the market. So the first of them is the remote work. We've been all forced to work from home, and the reality is that many people have found that they are more productive, that they like it, and also the companies are started to wonder why they should have these big offices and pay such high rents when the people can work from home. One of the statistics that I read in the US is that nearly the 60% of the Americans in the 25 top of household income had the option to work from home. What does that mean? That high income workers are the ones that probably will keep on working from home and in high income geographies. So if you think in the future of a product or a service that is going to tackle the people who are working from home, you also need to understand that these are people with medium to high incomes. It's not the people that still have to go to the physical working space. So this is an important trend to consider, as well as that, another survey that they did, it was published in Forbes magazine, is that the chief financial officers are starting permanently to work from home. So these are people that may not need the office, and these are the key target audiences that you can target and you can reach. Another behavioral trend that is not only obviously is not a consequence of COVID-19, but is something that has been happening in the market, is that the one-person households are on the rise. We are shifting from a 17% in 1969 to an almost 30% in 2019, and this is going to grow. So what does that mean? Again, when you are thinking on your products, you have to consider there are many people that are living alone, and this is going to grow. And why do we need to look at the trends? Because you can't look only at the current situation. Maybe now you have a market opportunity, but if the trends are sending you in a different direction, you're going to make a huge impact to open a business or to set up a startup that is not going to grow, that is going to go backwards. So you need to consider this as well as another behavioral trend. The third one is that due to COVID-19, the density is no longer desirable by customers. What does that mean? Any type of business that is going to bring people in a crowded space is not going to work, not only because the people don't want to be in a crowded space, it's because of the law and regulations. Restaurants, workshops, conferences, classrooms, universities, all these are shifting. And actually there are many schools and universities that are almost in bankruptcy, unfortunately. It's not that we can't go into the education sector. Of course we can, but we need to readapt. Some restaurants are doing the drive-in. Some supermarkets are doing that as well. Some schools that were not doing the online learning, well, most of the schools in the UAE were forced, and most of the areas of the world were forced to do the online learning. And we need to understand that this is here to stay as well. We are not going to go back probably to the same situation as before. And any business that is based on the amount of people that you can bring in a place won't be probably a successful business model. And I'm saying probably because the COVID-19 is being something unexpected, that we don't know how it is going to evolve. So I have to be cautious as well. But me, personally, I wouldn't invest in a business that needs to have X amount of people per square meter, because I can't see the way forward based on the trends, the statistics that we can read anywhere. If we have a look, this is a very interesting chart that compares the evaluation from investors in different sectors, 1 year ago and right now. So obviously, if we check the evaluations, air and travel, oil and gas are in a very low end range. If we look to some other sectors like telecom, food and beverage, media, personal and office goods, medical technology and high tech, healthcare supplies and distribution, of course, pharmaceuticals are on the high end of the span of the evaluation. What does this mean? Of course, there are sectors that are very related to the COVID-19, like pharmaceuticals, like healthcare, but there are some others that will stay as well. And these are the sectors that we need to keep a look at. It doesn't mean that we all have to bring technological solutions, that we all have to work in artificial intelligence, but definitely, whatever is the type of business that you do, it needs to have a component of telecom. It needs to have a component of media in terms of content creation. So these are main trends that you will have to consider whenever you take your business forward or you adapt the current business that you have. Maybe you've been having a business model that was not relying on technology. You'll have to pivot your business and you will have to tweak it, bringing more technology to the table. Again, if you have any question, you can drop it on the chat box and I'll be trying to address all of them during the talk or at the end. This is a very interesting chart provided by Deloitte. Is done in different countries. Unfortunately, it's not available worldwide. I've seen it in the US, China, Spain, Italy, UK, and shows the different sectors, how badly they have been affected or how they are thriving during the COVID-19 and this crisis time. So on the red side, you have the sectors that have had a high impact and in their cash flows. In yellow color, they had a significant disruption. In gray color, they were neutral, they didn't have any impact. And in green, you have sectors that had a positive outlook. It means that they were growing despite the COVID-19. So quickly, I'll share airlines, for example, hotels, wellness, restaurants, those are in red. Significant losses in wholesale and distribution, ports, of course, due to the limitation of movement. Neutral, we have personal and household goods. And if we go to the previous chart, we see exactly the same. And the positive outlook, of course, drug and pharmacy, but also grocery and convenience stores. And this shows that cooking has been one of the highest trends. And if we bring together the cooking with the fact that the people are going to stay at home and that you are going to have individuals and the houses are being reduced in number of members, maybe you have a business idea here or something that you can look forward in terms of options for cooking at home, objects that you can use. Anyway, there are many different ideas that can come when you follow the trends. And this is something that I would recommend all of you. Check trends in economics, in technology, in demographics, because these are going to give you hints for businesses. This is a trend that is before the COVID-19 and that I wanted to share with you as well, because statistics as per 2019, more than 500,000 people per month became an entrepreneur in the US. I'm going to repeat this. More than 500,000 people per month become entrepreneur in the US monthly. So it means that there is a high competition out there as well. By the end of this year, the prediction was that the 40% of the people in US would work for themselves, or they would have their own company. They would be self-employed. I'm sure this is going to be more than 50%, unfortunately, because there is a high unemployment rate right now. But this shows not only that there is an opportunity, but also that there is a high competition. And I'm also really sad to say that 80% of the companies don't survive after the first year. So you may be thinking, Stefania, do you really want us to be depressed after this talk? Not at all. But I am a very realistic person, and I think that the best cure or the best preparation to succeed is to know which are the risks. And things that you for sure need to consider is to go mobile. The 80%, and I'm talking about trends in the US, because as you know, getting statistics in the UAE is not always easy, and whatever happens in the US is something that replicates in the rest of the world, more or less. 80% of the Americans shop online, and half of them, or even more, and of course these statistics again have been changed after the COVID-19, they purchase using smartphones. Maybe some of you are going to ask, Stefania, I am a freelancer. Do I really need to take care of the smartphone? Definitely. If you have a website for your freelance services, you have to make sure that everybody can reach you at the palm of their hands, because this is where they spend most of their times. If you have a small business that doesn't have a web that is optimized to make online purchases, you are late already. So going mobile, optimizing your mobile, either if it is through apps or through your website or the way that the people can reach you and book your sessions. Look, this event could be booked via Eventbrite through the mobile. So this is one of the examples. You don't need to be a big company to make everything accessible mobile. So, okay, someone is asking me that can't stay for the whole talk. And if I'm going to record, yes, I'm recording the whole session and it's going to be sent to all of you afterwards. So it's not that I'm inviting you to leave. Please stay if you can, but if you can't, you're going to have the recording. You're welcome. Okay, more. We have a lot to catch up. This is the monthly growth of the e-commerce communities on social media, and the 30% of the sales that are driven through social media. Again, Instagram is not something that we have just for pleasure, but it's a leads generation. I'll talk a bit more about that later on. But the power of the Facebook groups, Facebook communities, bringing your community together is a fantastic leads generation. And social media is not for pleasure. If we don't have a potent social media, we are losing a high power. How did I create this this webinar? So some of the entrepreneurs that are going to talk today, we know each other through different online communities. So there is a real power. What else? We were talking about business, education, based on universities and schools on site. But it is true that education itself is a business in growth. Regardless of the crisis that they are going through when there is education on site, the online learning is something that is growing exponentially. And you may have something to teach. A freelancer, I know that there is someone who is a copywriter. Maybe apart from your services, you can sell your education on how to write a good article. You name it. If you are a company that is dedicated to, let's say, something quick, to fashion, maybe you can teach others how to start their fashion company. So education is something that can be built not only for people who are going to be fully deep into education, but even for companies that can start having new sources of revenue streams. 4 main things that I would like you to consider whenever you have a business idea is to go niche. In my case, my startup was created because I was having already 15 years of experience into the yoga and meditation sector. I had connections, I knew what I was talking about, I had experience what it means to go to a studio or to try to check which is the best studio and not having the information. And I had experience in marketing. So we can have a fantastic idea, but if we don't have any expertise in any of the areas, either if we are not a web developer and we have the expertise on the technical side, or if we haven't experienced that sector before, you need to have one area that you master and go niche and go really focus on that and become the expert on that niche, because then is when you'll be able probably to pivot and to have different options as well. The second recommendation is Unicorn 0, Zebra 1. What does that mean? Okay, I don't know why there is this on the screen. This is really weird. Let me check if there is any setting that I should consider here to check the person who are on the screen, because that was a bit strange. Okay. So let me reshare again. And so I was telling about Unicorn and Zebra. So the Unicorn are those startups that are created with the aim of having a quick exit and making a lot of money. The Zebra are slow startups that what they do is to be more sustainable in time. Investors and partners are going to be more interested on the Zebra in the long run. So this is a trend as well that is changing. 3 benefits 3. Can someone please confirm that you can see my screen? Because I can see it right now. So I'd like to make sure that you can see it. Yes, okay. So what it talks about the 3 benefits 3 is the circular economy. So the companies that are going to have better exposure, better PR opportunities, probably most investors approaching are those that are going to have 3 benefits: to the economy, to the people, and to the environment. So companies that are ticking these 3 boxes will have a higher success to get exposure, to have traction for the future. It doesn't mean that everybody needs to be sustainable, but definitely if you can transform your company into being more sustainable, you're already ticking that box. If you can have social programs inside your company, you're already ticking that box. And of course, making a profit to economy. And scalability is another trend that you need to consider, not a trend, but a key point. If you start a company that is going to be limited already from the beginning, you're going to have less opportunities. What does that mean? If you are in a sector that only applies to your city, you have to understand that your growth in the future will be limited to your city. You may be thinking, well, but I am not really looking forward to grow more than Dubai. Okay, but you will have competitors, which means that you will lose your market share. So now you don't want to grow, but maybe after 5 years, you want to grow to another city. So keep in mind a business model or a type of business that you can expand a bit further than what you see today on the current situation. Okay, main reasons of failure, your purpose. Look, if you think that being an entrepreneur is being like in these pictures that we see on Instagram, being in, let's say, Bali, having your piña colada with your feet on the table, working on remote, only 1 hour per day, being sunbath, and having 3 months holidays per year, probably you should rethink if you want to become an entrepreneur. I'm not kidding if I tell you that the number of holidays that I've had in the last 7 years, I don't know if I can put them all in 2 months, in 7 years, one after the other. And of course, I was with my computer and I was working on remote. So the only time that I unplugged for 4 days, no computer, no nothing, it was on a trip that I did to Singapore, and I decided that I didn't exist for 4 days. The rest, I've been taking rests, of course, and days off. But if you want to become an entrepreneur because you hate your boss, or because you want to work less, or because you want to enjoy your life more and to do some other things, I would really ask you or suggest you to review which is your purpose. Because being a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, having your startup, having a team is a lot of worries, a lot of excitement. That's what we are here for. You are going to have fun, but when the difficult times come, you don't have this office and a boss on top of you that has more responsibility than you, that can take some load. You are responsible of your business, which means that you need to have a strong reason why you started this business. When I was launching my startup, at the beginning when I was working on the website launch, I was working long hours, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. in the morning, driving back from in5 actually home. And I was thinking, Stefania, are you sure really you want to keep on doing this? But believe me, there was not one single day that I had any doubt. It was like, Stefania, you had this purpose. You wanted to bring this business forward. And this is what is going to help you to wake up the day that everything else falls, that you have a problem with your business partner, that your investment is not coming, that the revenues are down, that you have a COVID-19. So knowing really why you are doing this and which is the impact that you want to create. That's the number one. Second problem that, or mistakes that the companies that do, is that there is not a market need, or there is a mismatch in the market. I'm going to give you an example. Segway, which is this funny transportation method, they thought that the people could substitute the car for this transportation item, and they priced them very high. What happened is that was not true. The people were not really willing to give up driving a car to use this. Maybe this was an alternative method to go for the groceries or to go for a coffee or something else, but definitely not at a high price. So they really didn't understand that there was not a need in the market for what they wanted to do. Yes, with a lower price. So it was a misfit, didn't fit in the market. Needless to say that you need to get your cash flow in place, because there are going to be changes, there are going to be delays. Social media and the digital space are changing, so you're going to keep on updating your website, your app constantly, and you may have delays from your license, or you'll have a sudden stop on sales. So the cash flow is one of the top reasons why some startups or companies fail, because you didn't predict that in 1 year time, probably you would be making less money. When I work with startups and new entrepreneurs and they show me their profit and loss projections, I always say that they are really optimistic. And the first year, you really need to be very pessimistic. So you will be ready to have this cash flow going on, generating revenues probably with secondary source of revenues, or with some cash that you may have had from the previous, but this is an exercise that you really need to master. And if you're not an expert on finances, please find the one. There are many people working on remote that they work per hours and that you can really talk. Now, the lack of customer understanding, and this is an example that really brings a lot of pain because it's the company that I was working at. It was Nokia. We'll talk to another ex-Nokia afterwards. And the lack of customer understanding can make you fail terribly. What happened with Nokia is that it was a leader in the sector in the 70s, 80s, 90s. So everybody who's over 40 know what I'm talking about. If you are less than 40, maybe you haven't used a Nokia. But it was a mobile that will never break, will have the battery for days and days and days. I still have one old Nokia out there. And believe me, even if I throw it on the floor, it doesn't break. But they didn't understand that the mobile that they designed many years ago was not the same for the same purpose than the mobiles in 2010, let's say. The mobiles in the 80s, 90s were designed to communicate with each other, to talk, okay? And that was fantastic. But what we start seeing in 2010 or those years is that it was a social media tool. It was a social tool to be communicating, not necessarily by voice. What happened with Nokia is that they developed, well, there are many things that happened, but one of them is that they went into the Windows operating system and they didn't have the social media apps. Funny enough, they didn't have the Instagram app, they didn't have the Twitter app. So how are you competing with the rest of the mobiles while the people, if I buy a Nokia, I can have an Instagram. So I was the responsible for the brand ambassadors program, recruiting the online influencers, yet the Nokia phones didn't have Instagram app. So how could I implement that strategy while the influencers collaborating with Nokia couldn't use the mobile? So it was mad, and they lost the market. Of course, there were many other reasons, but this was one of them as well. The lack of understanding why was the customer using a mobile in 2010. The short-term vision. Another example, the platform WeWork, they started as a co-working space, investing on real estate. When they started with this business idea, it was working, it was profitable, but they were not really listening to the trends. And the trends were remote work means remote work. It means that the people don't want to go to the same office every single day. Sometimes they want to work from home. Sometimes they work from an office. Sometimes they work from Bali, or they go on a trip to visit their family and they work from there. So they really had this lack of long-term vision, and in November 2019 they had to let go 4,000 people because the business model is not working anymore. They have invested in something that really does not make any sense if we think on the remote work. Not only today, the trends are there. COVID-19, what it's done is to multiply this type of trends, but this was already existing. So whatever is your idea, please look to the trends and don't think that what is working now is going to work in the future. I don't think this needs more explanation, not having the right team. You can have a fantastic idea if you don't have the right people around. This is one of the top mistakes in the startups. And sustainable growth. There is an example, this company called Crumbs, they were doing gourmet cupcakes, highly priced, and they again started investing in different bakeries, but they didn't realize that, of course, they will have more competitors and they will lose the market share. So this growth that they had at the beginning, because they were successful, was totally unsustainable unless they would have understood that they also had to sell online, that apart from these wonderful cupcakes, they should do something else. So their growth was not parallel to adapting their business model, and it was unsustainable. I don't think that I need to really explain that without digital skills, we are not going to be able to make it. It doesn't matter if you are an independent professional, if you are an SME, if you are doing B2B, if you are doing B2C, no digital skills, it means that you won't make it on the even short, medium, and long run. I was reading the other day that on the fashion industry, they are starting to do online catwalks, and some of the big brands are considering really for the next years not to do the massive events that they were doing. So you can take that example if you're a small fashion brand and do it for yourself. Being out competed, quick example, it could be, again, if we go back to the mobiles, Nokia, BlackBerry, and I'm going to share a funny personal story. So back in, this was 2009, 2010, I was back in Spain with my BlackBerry, my company BlackBerry, with the keyboard, and my nephew, at the time he was 4, and he was playing with my BlackBerry, and he started to put the fingers on the screen, trying to slide the screen to the side. And I look at him, it's like, what is he doing? What he was doing is that the mom, my sister-in-law, had an iPhone that was already touch screen. BlackBerry didn't have the touch screen at that time. And that made me realize how fast technology goes, that even a 4 years old found that the touch screen was the normal. And for him, it was how the mobiles work. BlackBerry didn't adapt to that, and they really went out of the market. Again, that was not only the reason, but of course the competitors were faster than them to adapt to what was needed. So this is the summary of the 9 main reasons that could make your business fail. We are a bit short on time, so let me jump into the 5 areas that you need to master quickly. Partnerships. We all know that if you want to go faster, you can go alone, but if you want to go further, you need to work with people. Partnerships means people in your industry. It can mean organizations. It can mean government. It applies to different levels. Technology, exactly the same. I had to change my social media and digital marketing workshop in 1 week. It was in March, and it was just right before the pandemic. On the 8th of March, it was my first session of the social media workshop, and the second, I had to move it online and learn from technology immediately. So, and I am an independent professional, so technology, we all need to adapt. Planning and management, we were already talking about this. Testing and adapting. There is not a single company that can keep the business model and everything, the technology working as it is. You need to keep on adapting. Social media is changing as we talk. LinkedIn kicked off the LinkedIn stories this week. What was working on Instagram in November is not working anymore. So it's not only about your product that needs to keep on adapting, it's also about all the tools that you use in your marketing, in your finances. And something that I don't think that they talk enough in the business talks is about your mental and physical health. Running your own business requires a lot of energy, mentally and physically. And I think we all have experienced during the COVID-19 how hard it is to be in a crisis situation. And you are not going to have the energy of your colleagues. You are fighting your own battle with your own business. You have to take care really your mental health. It is proven by statistics that the amount of mental illnesses and depression amongst entrepreneurs is much higher than for the people who work for companies. Of course, during the COVID-19, there are many difficult situations, even for the people who are employees, but we need to keep this on point. I'll talk about that image at the end if we have time. The 6-step plan. Okay, so what do you need to have really in place and to master step by step? The first one is your brand value proposition. And this is where most of the startups and entrepreneurs that I work with have the most difficulty. But if you have this piece in place, you have probably 50% of your path already solved. What is the brand value proposition? You need to ask yourself, which is the problem that I solve with my company? If you are not solving a problem in the market, you are not going to succeed either. There won't be a reason and a space for your company in the market. Example, so if we are talking about, imagine a fashion brand that is doing only tops. Which is the problem that I'm solving? People are working from home and they don't need to spend that much money in a full body outfit while they are only seen from legs up. Okay, it doesn't mean that I am not dressed. I'm wearing a dress and I am dressing as if I was on the stage. So what is the problem that they are solving? They are going right to the need of the people to change really the top and not to spend that much money in a full outfit that maybe is not going to be seen. But there is a second thing that you need to consider in your brand value proposition, how you do it in a unique way, because there are going to be more people trying to address the same problem in the market. So how you create your brand value proposition is number one, which is the problem in the market that I am solving? Number two, how am I doing in a unique way and in a different way than my competitors? So this is the key piece to start moving forward. The people come, the entrepreneurs, usually with the idea, yes, I want to launch a fashion brand that is going to be for teenagers. Okay, so what? What is the problem that you're solving in the market? It's going to be sustainable. So what? Do the teenagers care about sustainability? So you always have to go back to which is the problem, which is the pain in the market. How are you going to ease this pain with your solution? Then, number two, market research. You can't imagine the amount of companies that I work with as startups or small businesses that they haven't calculated the market size. You need to know how many people you can reach with your business solution, either if you are B2B or B2C. How do you calculate that? You need to research, and you will have this amount of people that you can reach through different sources, statistics, doing your own research, but you need to reach the total amount of people that are going to download your app and that are interested in your product. Imagine this hypothetical fashion company that is only doing tops, okay, for meetings. They need to understand how many people are doing remote work, how many people are doing online meetings, how many people out of there do care about their outfit, and so on. You need to split and to reach out to the final number of potential customers that would buy your solution. Step number three, competitors and positioning. And this is something that you need to keep on redoing. You need to know who is offering the same type of solution that you are offering in the market now, in 3 months, in 6, in 1 year, and you need to keep on redoing this. Because the fact that, as I usually get from some people, no, nobody's doing what I'm doing. Okay, they may, they may do it. In 2 months, you will have someone else that has started doing that. Or you may have someone in the other corner of the world right now that things are becoming digital that is going to offer the same service. So you need to be aware of who are your main competitors, which is their structure, what is their market size, which is the technology that they are using, what are they doing better than you, which are their weaknesses, how are you different to them, and again, going back to your brand value proposition, how are you doing the things in a unique way that you are going to communicate that in the market. The fourth step that you need to validate for your business idea: segments, personas, and sales channels. you will have different target audiences. If we go back to this example of the fashion talks, you may have men and women, obviously, totally different. People by age, people by industry. In Dubai, definitely people by nationalities. We may have a different taste. So if you're going to launch a fashion collection, you will have to understand which are the different segments, or if you are going to launch it on one-on-one, or are you going to sell to bigger stores? Are you going to be part of an e-commerce platform that shows different products and different brands? So knowing exactly the different groups that are going to behave in similar ways, okay? So segments are different groups that are going to behave in similar ways when they purchase your product. Number 5, profit and loss. One of the struggles at the beginning when the companies start is that, but I don't know how much am I going to sell. Okay, you need to have to start with a prediction. You need to split your costs and monthly set the prediction of what you are going to sell. Yes, but I'm launching an idea that is new in the market. It's fine. You need to predict, and to predict, you may have done your market research. And if you know your market size and you know that are 200,000 people working on remote, then you know that from out of these 200,000, maybe your market share is at 10%, and you are going to sell 2 items per month to each of them. And each item is priced 150 dirhams. And this is how you start building your sales forecast against the expenses that you're going to have, trade license, your computer, your marketing, etc., etc. And last but not least, your marketing strategy, budgeting, and planning. You need to know how you're going to market your product. Again, it really breaks my heart to see entrepreneurs that they have done all this, they have made an enormous effort, but their marketing is not in place. They don't have a budget. It's not that they don't have a budget, that they don't have the money. They have the money, but they are not planning. They don't know what they are really targeting. And you need a marketing plan in place really to move forward and to be really clear on how you are going to achieve your sales. And listen, everything is changing. If you need to do a training, do it. If you need to hire someone 2 hours per week, do it. But the marketing, if the brand value proposition was a 50%, probably the marketing is a 30. So I'm sharing with you a checklist. If you want, you can take a screenshot. You can go one by one or ask me, but basically it's the same that we had before. Which is the problem that you are solving? Have you tested your assumption? Which is your brand value proposition? Which is your market size? Which are your competitors? How you are different from them? And what makes you stand out in the market? Which are your segments and personas? Your profit and loss, have you created it? Have you created a minimum viable product? Something to test, to revalidate your idea before you launch? Have your branding in place, your marketing materials? Which are the best channels to sell your product? If it is online, is through some other websites, is through yours, is through Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, depending if you are B2B or B2C. Which are your marketing objectives? Align with your business objectives. You need to set your KPIs to move forward, to know what you want to achieve. Do you want to grow your social media followers, of real followers? Do you want to increase your database? Do you want to have exposure? Do you want to generate leads? All this needs to be in place. Your calendar of action, monthly analytics, and once you've gone through all the process, learn and adapt whatever you need to adapt. And by the way, the marketing is a fantastic exercise of market research. You have the data available on your Facebook, on your Instagram, on your LinkedIn. You can know which are the nationalities that are following you, the split by ages. This is giving you pure gold in terms of information. Use it. And then you can readapt. And if at the end of a couple of months on your social media, you realize that you have an 80% of women following you and a 20%, and your website traffic is a 90% men and a 10% woman, there is something wrong there. Or if it is again a 90% woman traffic on your website and a 10% of men, maybe as a fashion company, you don't have to keep on designing collection for men and focus more on women. You know what I mean? So marketing is giving you so much information. So I have a question right here. What is the best way to start a business at low cost in Dubai? This is something that we can address at the end of the talk. I'll keep your question. Otherwise, I'm going to share as well. Let me share my email address. So if there is something that is not replied today, please send me an email and I'll be replying to this, or I'll point you in the direction because I am not an expert in all the areas. So why is my email not shown? Okay, here you go. So these are, again, going back to the 6. Remember the brand value proposition, your market research, competitors and positioning, segments, sales channels, your profit and loss, your marketing strategy, budgeting, and planning. And I'd like to introduce you now. We are a bit running 10 minutes more or less late, but anyway, we'll try to squeeze as much as we can. I'd like to introduce you to 3 successful entrepreneurs that they have made it through the last years. They come from very different backgrounds, and this is why I wanted to bring them together. They come from different industries, and the first of them is Payal Mirchandani. She's the founder of Pinka. It is a distribution company of products for kids. She's having many other companies that she will explain. And she started becoming an entrepreneur after she came out of college. So I'll say hi to her with the volume on after I introduce all of them, so we can say hi one by one. The second one is Ryan Ondawan Hurst. She's the founder of Bright Club Middle East and a serial entrepreneur of many other companies related to the same sector. She's going to explain us as well how she's been creating all these different companies. And last but not least, and sorry, Ibrahim, but ladies first, even if I know you in person. So Ibrahim Kolak is an ex-Nokia. He's the founder of Mr. Usta, a super successful startup that has had very good news this week that he can share with us later on. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and unmute Payal. I'm unmuting you. Let me see. Hello, Payal. How are you doing?
Hi, Stefania. How are you?
Really nice having you on board.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It
was very, very informative what you shared today.
Thank you. I'm going to unmute now. Rhiannon, hello. How are you doing?
Hi, guys. Hi, Stefania. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining. And let me find, Ibrahim, you are here. Thank
Hello.
you. Hi, Ibrahim. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm trying to turn on the video, but do I have rights? I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, so we'll go as we as we can. So I'd like to start asking you a question to the 3 of you. So the first one that wants to start with that, I'd like to know, what did you become an entrepreneur? So we can go by order as I introduce. So Payal, if you'd like to share with us, why did you decide to become an entrepreneur, if there was a decision, and how did that happen?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I come from a family of entrepreneurs, so I've always had the mindset of being an entrepreneur. Just this, I don't know, it's in me, wanting to have ideas all the time, trying to make those ideas become reality. I've worked, so I've worked in the past as well. So in Toronto, so I started my entrepreneurial journey in Canada, where I'm from. I started working, and then I realized that I was just born to be an entrepreneur. So I started a company, an online company in the wedding space called weddingguru.com. And that was a good 5 years of my life, where I actually really understood what it was like to be a startup. and got married. So decided that I was going to move to Dubai, sold that company, came here, and I promised myself I wouldn't be an entrepreneur again. I'm going to go to work. I don't want the hassle of being stressed and worrying about, you know, money and what am I going to do and how am I going to market and all these things. And I said, that's it. I'm just going to work. I got a job. And then I realized I need to be an entrepreneur. I quit when I got pregnant, and I started Finca, my first baby in Dubai, Finca Trading, which is a toy distribution company. And that's been a stable business. And now I'm going to start a new online fashion platform to address the slow fashion and sustainable fashion conversation. And that's boundary.com.
Cool, really, really interesting, and funny that you try to escape continuing being an entrepreneur, but you fall again. And I can really relate to that because it's hard. And sometimes you think, I really want to keep on doing this, but then I look to the other option and it's like, I do really enjoy it and I have fun.
That's right.
So Rhiannon, I'd like to know your story. So how did you become an entrepreneur? What's your story of entrepreneurship?
Sure. Firstly, thanks for having me and taking this initiative, and hi to everybody out there. Thanks for joining us today. I started out in the entertainment industry as a professional singer and actress. And I kind of fell into sales to pay the bills, and it turned out I was quite good at sales. So I, for years, worked my way up media sales ladder in various publishing houses and moved to Dubai for one of the biggest publishers in the region to revive a failing luxury travel magazine. And during that time, whilst I was hired to do the sales, I was always pushing the marketing side of the business and the event side of the business, and I pushed the publishers to go digital. And I was always one to think outside the box. And even as a child, I felt like I had entrepreneurial traits. So I was given a sweet box, a fake like sweet shop, and I took it and put it on the wall of our house, marked the price up and started selling it to the other kids in the street. So I've always had this kind of, entrepreneurial spirit. And it was when I was working at a publisher's that really valued intrapreneurship, i.e. employees within a company coming up with ideas and working with that company to become like a, co-publisher or being part of the business. That's how my journey started, because my CEO and boss at the time saw potential in me and allowed me to start an online publication within the comfort of a business.
Fantastic.
And that's when I became engaged and saw a gap in the market for the wedding industry here in the UAE. Mm-hmm. There was no online platform that existed, no digital presence for wedding in this region, which I thought was insane because I was a bride and I knew it would help me. So I saw a niche, a gap, and I fulfilled that. So that's how I got into entrepreneurship.
And you saw the problem as well. You saw that you suffered the problem as well. As you said, you were a bride, so you experienced yourself what it meant to have a lack. That's really interesting. I'll ask you a few questions later about the digital side of the story, because it's really relevant right now. And I wanted to ask Ibrahim, although I know the story, but I'd like you to share with the rest of the people. And I'm really pleased that you are here today. It's funny because we were working in Nokia in different departments. And one day I'm in a talking in 5 with someone that is talking about their startup. And this was like 3 years after Nokia. And this guy is talking about his startup. And I'm looking at him, it's like, this face is familiar to me. And then when he kept on explaining what he was doing, and then he said, when I was working in Nokia, it's like, oh my God, we were working together. I mean, I have to say that Nokia was a big team. So I'm super excited to see how he's grown. And anyway, I'm going to stop talking and I pass the micro to you, Ibrahim. So it will be my pleasure that you share how you started.
Thank you very much. Yeah, of course, entrepreneurship makes you older in a couple of years, more than 10 years. So maybe I've changed a lot. In Nokia, I was maybe more slimmer and, younger. That's why it's first time you don't understand it. Yeah. Actually, my whole corporate life, as you said, was Nokia. I started in 1999, and I worked for 14 years for Nokia. My latest role was product marketing manager for India, Middle East, and Africa. So I was very much involved in managing smartphones. You mentioned also in your presentation about Nokia's failure and stuff. Our biggest problems were applications, and I was trying to get as much as applications on the Nokia phones, but developers didn't want to put applications on Symbian because it wasn't easy, it was very difficult, and we are struggling a lot. And after Nokia, started to really fall, I always wanted to do something I want, because as you know, in Nokia, one of the reasons also we failed, everyone has great ideas, but you cannot execute them because there are so many layers of approval, so many layers of explanation. You create an idea, and after 1 year, maybe you can execute it, and it was really frustrating.
Yes.
So that's why I wanted to create my own business, my own startup, so I could easily do whatever I want and create the way I want. So when Nokia was sold to Microsoft, I thought, yeah, this must be the sign coming to me from above, so I should start my own business. As usual, I did a lot of research, asked some experienced entrepreneurs and my contacts, and they told me the easiest way is to create an application or a startup is to solve a problem. You have also mentioned this. Then I looked at my life in Dubai, what is one of my biggest problems, and I found that finding service providers is really, really difficult. So I did a lot of research on this. I worked with service providers. I really look at what they are doing and how they are doing. And I decided that, yeah, this is a really, really untouched market, and it is a good opportunity for me to jump in. So my journey started like that.
Cool. I'll be asking you more about that. I'd like to ask you, the three of you, and then I'm opening the conversation so you can reply as you want without order. So how has been your company affected during the COVID-19? And if there is any change that you've done or how you have adapted to that? So who wants to start?
I can start.
Yes.
So Pinka, which is a distribution company, it's a distribution company in toys. So I sell to all major retailers in UAE and in the Gulf. So how have we been affected is obviously all retail stores were closed. So no orders at all. I have a staff of 25 people in my business. So no orders, no sales, cash flow severely affected. Of course, there's the online channel. So, we've been focusing as a distribution company, we've been focusing on selling to retail stores a lot, because although we do sell through all the major online channels, the business was not enough. We definitely need the brick and mortar stores. So what we decided to do was just now look at how we can grow our online business with Amazon Noon, Mums World Spree, all the online channels. Look at where to cut down spending, so become more mindful in where we're actually spending our cash right now. So that was for Pinka and my distribution, because it's an established, stable distribution company. Of course, I have my startup, which is Boundary.com, which was supposed to launch, and COVID-19 hit, and everything came to a standstill. My photo shoots came to a standstill, everything came to a standstill. So what I decided to do was, when they started easing the restrictions during Eid, I just took that as an opportunity to do my photo shoot and get things ready in case there was another lockdown. So that's sort of how I've been trying to navigate my way around this pandemic.
Mm-hmm. So again, it goes back to the online opportunity.
Yes, for
again.
sure. I mean, if I didn't have that, I think I would have had to look at there's putting all my staff on unpaid leave and all of those things. At least we had the opportunity to look at growing the online channels.
So how about you, Rhiannon or Ibrahim? How have you been affected?
Well, obviously, pretty much all industries, bar maybe a few, have been impacted by the global health pandemic, but I would say the weddings and events industry particularly has been impacted. And that is because no weddings are allowed, specifically at the moment here in the UAE. So immediately I was like, oh hell, like, okay, let's get ready for a ride. So the first thing I did was reach out to my freelancers and my employees and have conversations with them about what the next kind of 4 months might look like. And with my freelancers in particular, I told them that their workload would reduce, meaning their income would reduce from me, but I would still be bringing them business. I looked at ways in which we could reduce our own expenses, so all our own outgoings. And then I started to think outside the box, because my primary income is generated through vendors and venues marketing their services on my platform. I have several other businesses as well. I've always been the type of person that doesn't like to doesn't like to kind of put all my eggs in one basket. So I have another business called homeclubme.com, which is the same concept as Bride Club, but it's where you can get access to information for all things home life in the UAE. So I knew that my attention needed to go there to bring in revenue whilst Bride Club was still running. I still put out content. I'm still helping brides. I immediately set up a section on the website called COVID-19 updates to update brides and industry about what's happening in the events industry, directives from the government, what you can, what you can't do. I set up a Facebook support group for brides and the industry and started doing live talks on what wedding industry professionals can do now during quiet time that they've never had the chance to do before. Because they're so busy, often their websites don't get updated for months and their social media is lagging. So this is what I encouraged, and I focused on areas that I could bring in revenue because I knew immediately that, wedding venues would cancel contracts with me. So maybe I'll go to banks and talk about wedding insurance that couples have never thought about before, but now it's at the forefront of their mind, maybe we should get insured. Yeah. So that's what I did.
There's something very interesting that you mentioned, that was you talking to your employees or to your freelancers. And I was talking at the beginning that one of the main reasons of failure is not having the right team. But I think I forgot to mention that one of the main reasons to failure is not being the right boss. and I think you were touching into a point that is really important, and especially during these times, I see many business owners, some of them taking really care of the employees, and I think those will make it through, and some others that can't really manage the whole situation, and that would be one of the reasons of the non-success.
Well, they took care of me, just to make one point. They took care of me because my copywriters specifically and my editors gave me, without even asking, they said, Rio, we're going to change our payment terms for you because you've always supported us. So you can pay us in 60 days instead of 30 days or 15 days. Usually I pay as soon as I've got the money, I pay them like within a week. But they gave me flexi payment options, which was amazing to me. I didn't even ask them. I still paid them earlier than they said, but we were working as a team.
Yes, and I was thinking on the other way as well, that you had these open conversations for them to tell them that they would still get business. So you as a leader of your business was taking care. I'd like to understand as well from Ibrahim, which has been your experience during the COVID-19, and I know that you have a big team. So I guess that this may have been one of the most complicated. So how has it impacted your business? And is there been any opportunity out of this whole situation?
Yeah, there are a couple of angles that it affected us. First is business. Our business is mainly at people's home. And with the COVID, people don't want any foreigners or in their home, or they don't want someone they don't know come in their home. Even we try to convince them, we get all the precautions, the mask, the sanitizers, the gloves and everything. Still, you don't want anyone. You don't see your friends and relatives, and there is also this shutdown. So as a business, we were affected really hard on some categories, and people stopped buying services. Only if they have an emergency and they definitely need something urgently, they buy it. So, but before the lockdown, we understand that from the other countries, it's going to be like that. As a startup, when we were setting up our technical backend, we set it up like everyone can work from home. So we had this the rule in the company that everyone can choose 1 day or 2 days work from home. It's totally fine. So our backend and technology was ready to work from home. It didn't affect us. Even our call centers, all the phones and GSMs are forwarded, so it didn't affect us on the operations side. But on the business side, like orders, it's definitely affected us. But it created an opportunity, as you mentioned, which is disinfection and sanitization service. Everyone started to look for these services, and we have our partners which are helping us to get this. And this category is doing well. And when we announced that our laundry service, for example, is hospital grade, we do wash your laundry the best way, and you don't need to get worry about anything, then it started picking up too. Of course, it affected me in other levels too, because as you know, I recently announced a partnership with Majid Al Futtaim. We were going to announce it before COVID and sign everything, but because of this, all the offices are closed, the legal offices are closed, we couldn't sign the contracts and we didn't announce it. So I lost at least 3 months of partnership with them, which would be really a good head start for me. So, but I see in the last 1 month or 20 days, it's picking up back. We are not in the levels of before COVID situation, but I believe in a couple of months we'll be back.
So we are talking about what is working, more or less, how we've been able to change situations. And I'd like to put on the table something that usually we don't share that much, if you want to share, which has been your biggest mistake so far since you became an entrepreneur. So I leave it open to anyone who wants to start.
I can start as I was continuing. My biggest mistake was not doing enough research. I believe when I started, I believe I did enough research on how to, because it was a different sector that I was working in. I believe because I like handyman stuff I do myself and I like how people get services, I did a lot of research with my friends and online, but actually the main research I should have done on the field. I did a little, but I should have done more, because these people, service providers, they have a different life than ours. We see them only when they come home and fix things, but when they go back to their office, their preparation, their logistics, their supply chain, it's totally different. So I wasn't aware of these timelines, their costing, their margins. So after some time, I really gave like a couple of months to understand everything, but I wish I did it at first, so I could do my pricing, I could do my user journey much better if I knew this at first. And the second one is I thought technology would save everything. So I was thinking I will create an application, I will have a couple of developers, and that's it. I don't need any other team, because people are smart, they know how to use an application, and with a couple of clicks they can book their orders. But the reality is not like that. I should have really kept the human touch all over the place from the first day. So right now my biggest team is customer service team, and I'm very happy at that, because still we are here in 2020, but still people want to have a human touch and want to know someone taking care of them. They don't rely technology 100%. Even everything they can done on the application, but when they have a problem, they want to see someone helping them and someone backing them up. So I also realized that later I could have started with both two at first.
Absolutely, and I want to give my personal experience on that. I've used Mr. Usta app, and if I had to give a feedback regarding one of the services, they immediately called me back. And they don't call me because I know Ibrahim. I mean, obviously this is a company and it goes through an app. but I have to say that I was really surprised by the level of customer service, reaching out, finding a solution. So it does really help. It's not only talk. It does really, and I think that's what makes really the difference, especially in a place where we all know that customer service is not the best of the best. So when you have a company really that goes that far, I do think that makes the difference. So how about you? Which has been the biggest mistake, if you want to share?
Who, Paya? Okay.
Whoever wants to go first.
The biggest mistake. I mean, there's lots.
Okay, then share.
I think for Bride Club, when I launched Bride Club, it was not valuing the expertise of consultants and people who were more experienced than me, and thinking I could do everything myself, you know? So now that I am a small business consultant to wedding entrepreneurs, I get it, you know, but it took me a while to understand the value of like experts, bringing in experts, because I was so like, no, I can do it myself, you know. I'm just going to do everything myself and learn. And I did, and it was a massive learning lesson. And this is why now I feel like I can charge to be a consultant, because I've got years of failure and learning from my mistakes and to pass on that wisdom to other people. But I think that was with Bride Club. But then when I was launching Home Club, it was procrastination and fear of failure, because I had built up such a, in many people's eyes and in mine, a successful award-winning platform. How was I going to achieve that success now with the next platform? And I was so crippled by, oh my God, nervousness and other people in maybe that market space thinking negatively of me, oh, she's trying to copy me or something, when I had that idea for 4 years and sat on it. And during those 4 years, other people did what I wanted to do.
Yeah,
and then when it came out, yeah, and actually no, it was like I've had this idea in my brain for 4 years, but fear of failure and procrastinating is what stopped me. And it was one day at an event, somebody said something to me, because I was drip feeding, I'm going to launch this in many different ways. And they said, when is Home Club going to launch? You've been talking about this for 4 years. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And within a week, I rolled it out and it was done. So fear of failure, procrastination, and not seeking mentors and advice and the expertise of others.
Interesting. We'll talk about the lack of action. Well, we were already talking at the beginning, and I think is yes, an entrepreneur breathes and lives into action, and with the speed of the markets, we really need to implement. I'm not also a fan of jumping, as Ibrahim was saying. I think the market research is important, but we can keep the idea, because once we want to launch it, then it's obsolete or someone else may have done it. What about you, Payal? Which has been your biggest mistake?
Like Rhiannon
Let's
said,
bring
many
the not
mistakes.
so beautiful, the not so beautiful face of entrepreneurship, but obviously the one that makes us succeed after that.
Yeah, sure. I think there's a couple as well for me, and I'll try to keep it short because we can talk about it forever, right? But one is not being afraid of numbers. I think that I was so passionate about my business. I love what I do. I can sell my business to anybody. But financial, just understanding the numbers to make our business work and become profitable. Like, I would be like, no, I don't really, I think I have somebody who can do that, and I'm just going to focus on the selling. And I realized that actually, no, it is my weakness, but I have to make it my strength. And that's the one thing, is when you fear your own weakness on something, it's really to be able to look at it and say, no, I'm going to do that first, actually, and really make that my strength. Because whatever the case is, I mean, numbers matter in business. It cannot, your passion will not be able to help you, pay salaries, and you need to understand profitability. And you mentioned that in your part of in your presentation, profit and loss, and understanding even for scaling, you need to understand numbers. And no matter around you, you might have the help, which I do now, but I still have to know my numbers and be able to talk to people about my numbers. So that's one. And the other one I would say is, as entrepreneurs, we have to make a lot of decisions. You navigate your business, you're trying to figure out, you have to, decision making, problem solving is key to becoming successful. But self-doubt creeps in because you think maybe other people know better than you, or you think that, oh, look at that competitor, look at what they're doing, and, maybe I shouldn't do this. And I made a very big mistake in Finca, in my toy distribution, because I was scaling up. And, in toys, it's all about, when you're a distributor, and in toys, it's about brands, what kind of brands, you can bring to the market. And money talks. So, and I don't have that kind of money where people were going, some of the older, the big players that monopolize the industry would go to these toy fairs and say, well, I have, I'm going to give you $1 million order or $2 million order. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I can't do that. So what can I do, right? But somewhere along the lines, decided to scale up, bring in an expert into my business, paid a lot of money, and it really backfired. I lost a lot of money. And the biggest learning is we actually know, it's in us. We know what is the right thing to do. We need to listen to our gut, because that's why we are entrepreneurs. And that's the difference between being successful, is to really, believe in ourselves and have that, know that we can do it. Yes, you need experts, but ultimately we know whether that's the right advice. We just know, because it's our business.
Yes, but at the end of the day, we need to take the decision. So we can have a team of experts, of course, and we need to work with a team, with freelancers that know more than us, but we need to be the ones knowing the vision, how we want to take it forward. I'd like to open the chat for anyone to ask any question. You can address it with the name of the person that you want to ask, or to say that the question is for the three of them. So let me read if there was anything related. Someone was saying hi to Ibrahim that met you. Anyway, I think.
And thanks for using our services.
So if anyone has any specific question, I also would like to ask you, we were talking about which has been the main mistake. I'd like to know which has been the main key for your success. So whoever wants to start, if there is 1, 2 things that you would like to share with future entrepreneurs and say, look, these were the 2 keys of my success. So if they can take something from today's chat, what would you share with them?
Can I start?
Yeah.
Go.
So for me, it's been 3 things. So it's been patience, because I cannot tell you the amount of conversations I've had with new entrepreneurs that want things too quickly, and they start a business and they haven't got 500 followers on Instagram after 2 weeks, or they haven't got orders coming in after a month. It's patience is number 1. Rome was not built in a day. It takes time to create a successful business. So number 1 is patience. Number 2 is delegation. I tried to do everything myself, and I reached a point of burnout where I was literally working to 3 a.m. every day, and my brain was frazzled because I didn't trust anybody to do any of the other bits of the cogs of the wheel that needed to be done. I was editor, marketing, sales, business development. I was doing it all. So I really looked at the areas that I was strong in, and I assessed the areas that I was weak in, and I checked my own ego and realized that I hate systems. I can't bear admin. And I'm really not interested in accounts, even though I need to know my numbers. So, and also I passionately write, but it was getting to the point where I was just getting so bored of writing about weddings. And the passion wasn't there, and my readers could see that. So I knew I had to delegate out and hire a copywriter and an editor. I had to get an admin assistant on board because I was getting overwhelmed. And I needed to focus on the sales and the marketing because that's what I was good at and what I really enjoyed. So delegation, patience, and lastly, innovation and being one step ahead of the game. So yes, we were first to market, but now we have lots of competition. But one thing that I know Bride Club ME stands for is always looking ahead. What can we do differently to our competitors? Always listening to the brides, understanding their user trends, and thinking one step ahead of our competitors and innovating. And I see it works because when I do something, people follow. So innovation.
Okay.
Those are my key tips.
Perfect. Just before we move, there was one question from someone. Marketing user research are critical for a successful startup. Where should we start from in terms of trustworthy resources that validates our unique value proposition and the problem that we are trying to solve? And I think this was to Ibrahim, because you were talking about the mistake that you made by not doing enough market research. So how could they start with the data?
Data and map the user journey. So there is always an offline. If we are talking about tech solutions, there is always a offline user journey, which is a traditional one, and you can map it really on the stages how that problem is happening and how it's getting solved, and you can start eliminating some stages of those problem solving and create a technology on top of that one. So if you completely ignore the offline or traditional way of that problem and problem solving and try to create completely a new way, it can be innovation, but it's not easy people to buy it from the first day or first month. So you need to have a staged approach to change the people's habits. For myself, it was the biggest, difficult problem I need to solve to change the habits of people. People love talking on the phone and WhatsApp messages. So making them use an application to buy services, not calling a service provider or WhatsApping someone, was my biggest problem. So I had to create a WhatsApp-like experience or a calling-like experience on my application so people can get used to it. I need to get clear pricing on that. So I believe the easiest way is really mapping whole user journey and start from there.
Regarding the question of which has been the key for success, which would you say that has been the key for the success of your business or your career as an entrepreneur?
For me, I think I can say one is team. Team is very important. As the other speakers mentioned, you cannot do everything yourself. It's impossible. Sometimes you try to do, but you burn out. So choosing a right team and delegating the tasks to them will help you a lot, so you can make the right decisions. If you are really tired, if you are not in a position to make decisions or not right mindset and to make decisions, you make wrong decisions. So the team needs to get the pressure out of you, and that helps a lot. To be honest, I say first team, and then also you need to really dedicate yourself to the problem. You need to then I think about it. You shouldn't think it as a side job. It should be your main work. And if you just want to try it, it doesn't happen. And lastly, I think you need to really welcome the feedback. If you are close to feedback, it will not improve you, because what I did and it worked for me, I welcomed the feedback. I really studied the feedback and I pivoted many times, and pivoting helped me a lot, because with my first business model and now a current business model, maybe I have 80% difference, and the revenue I'm making also maybe 100 200% difference because I've pivoted. So getting feedback and analyzing it right way and pivoting is very, very important on success.
Fantastic. It's about
Can I add to
flexibility.
that?
Yes, Payal, definitely.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with Ibrahim and Rhiannon. Team is really important. I don't think I could do what I do without the team that I have, to be honest. And I also think that it's important to understand our strengths and focus on those strengths and not sort of get sidelined by what perhaps is around us. Like for example, like I was saying in my case as a toy distributor, everybody has different strengths. So for me, I accepted early on that I'm not going to have millions of dollars to go and get brands. So how am I going to become one of the top 5 distributors in the market is what I needed to address. I will go and bring brands, but I'm not going to have that kind of money to go and bring a Lego or whatever that case is. So what I decided to do was to focus on customer service and to focus on being the best distributor to my customers, addressing their needs differently than maybe if you're a larger company. I was more adaptable, I was more responsive, I was communicating to the buyers more regularly. So that was my strength, and that's how I created a reputation for my company without having to go and spend a lot of money. So I think really understanding that and staying your course on that is what I would say.
There is a question for Payal. I heard you saying that you have partners with online partners such as Noon, MomWords, and Esprit. If you focus on growing your online business, do you think your partners are worried about cannibalization?
Yes, initially there were, because I've been in toy distribution now for more than 5 years. So yes, initially the mindset was, why are you selling there? Why aren't you selling with us? But as long as you keep the pricing similar or the same, usually it's not an issue. But I think over the years, they're open to the competition. They understand that, as a distributor, we do need other channels to make money. And we will have exclusive promotions with certain retailers, depending on what you negotiate with them. So yeah, I would say things have changed over time, but we are definitely in a space now, especially with the pandemic, where everybody's open to understanding that you need to make money now.
Okay. There are 2 more questions. We have around 5 minutes. Stefania, can you please me connect to Payal? Yes, I'll do that. So questions. Patience is key, but what is a good way of gaining multitude of exposure in terms of marketing when there are already existing competitors for growth early on? So I'm not sure. I guess that the question is about how to balance the patience with the growth that you need when you have competitors. And the second question is also better to follow trends, trend setting, or both? So who wants to reply?
I'll do that because I love marketing. So a multitude of exposure. So to me, marketing is 360. There's not one specific avenue that is going to, revitalize your business. And you have to think of many different things. And it depends, do you have budget or don't you have budget or minimal budget? So if you have budget, great. But let's just pretend you don't, for example, and you're completely starting out with no budget, no investor, it's bootstrapped, etc. First and foremost, you need to have, I believe, a strong brand, a brand that you can identify with. And I'm not talking about going on Fiverr and getting, a crappy logo. A brand is more than a logo.
Yeah.
You need to create your brand identity. So when people see you, they know, that's whoever. First and foremost, it's doing a good job because word of mouth is so strong. If you are good at what you do and you are genuinely serving your community and doing a good job, people will speak about it. And I'm talking, for example, during the pandemic, I helped launch my husband's business, and he specialized in Wi-Fi. So that's literally saved our household because my income has obviously dropped a lot. So just from word of mouth alone, that's kickstarted his business, and having a good, strong logo and brand. So focus on your brand identity, doing a good job for your clients, and people will talk. Secondly, in this day and age, you have to have social presence. If you're not, It just
Absolutely.
looks weird. You have to have social presence, and you have to be consistent and active with your social media, and partnerships, strategic partnerships. Reach out to people, start conversations. Even if you don't know where it's going to go, something
Yes.
magical can happen from that coffee, Zoom coffee chat
Yes.
you have.
Absolutely.
Partnerships.
Yeah.
Is it better to follow trends or trend setting? I would say both, in my opinion. Both. Innovate, set trends, but also look at what's happening, what's popular, and capitalize on that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ria. And we're going to take one more question because we have like 5 minutes to wrap up. How to identify the problem that you want to solve? Maybe Ibrahim can reply to that as you, or anyone else if you want, just to make the full round. How can you identify the problem you want to solve?
I think again it comes to research, but you cannot just go after a problem. I mean, that is not existing and create a problem. I think you need to first choose the sector that you want to work in, then identify the problems in that sector with talking with the main stakeholders in that sector. So for me, understanding this, yeah, it was my own personal problem. And then I dived in the sector and talked with the main stakeholders in the sector. And I understand the main problem is communication. Then the second problem is the fair price, because if you are living in different parts of Dubai, they would charge a different amount. Third one is the biggest one is the quality. You never know how good is that person. So I really map again, I said I will repeat again, map the user journey, how people are booking services. But you are asking someone, your friend, and you are calling the guy directly, and you have no clue if the quality is good, or you have only one referral, and you have only one referral of price too. So whatever that guy is telling you, you have to accept it because you don't have any other option. But I understand the problem in my sector was not having an option, not fair price. So I created option for people, and I set the fair price for people. So it was easy for people to now select, and they know what they are paying for, and they are reading the reviews from previous customers, so they have a peace of mind. So again, you need to first start the sector you are working in, and then identify the problems in that sector and talk to the main stakeholders how to solve this problem.
Okay.
Can I add to that?
Clear, yes, please.
So I think it's, to be honest, I mean, to run a business and to really take it where we need to take it, like to the level we want in terms of our ambition, a lot of the problems end up being a very personal, it's part of our personal journey, right? I mean, if you look at all three of us, we had a personal journey, and in that, the problem came out. All four of us, actually, if you think about it. I mean, for me,
Yes.
Pinka was born out of frustration. If you read my story, I wanted a product for my baby, and I couldn't find it. And I was very frustrated. I couldn't find it, and I decided to look for it. When I found it in Canada, I decided to bring it here. I felt everybody needed to have it. And it's the same with Boundary.com. It's a very personal journey. And I think if we want to make our businesses successful out of passion, to have the drive to make it successful, then it's got to be that very personal, you know, that struggle, or that something's missing and you find it, rather than just looking for something and saying, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur, let me just find what's happening.
Yes.
Because you will, I think, you know, we all know how hard it is to be an entrepreneur. So what really gets us going is solving the problem, which is what you know, Ibrahim said as well, is that I'm solving a problem and I spend a lot of my time solving that problem.
Yes, absolutely agree. And I think that the point of experiencing a frustration is been the starting point of many businesses and many
Yes.
successful businesses. So that's one. And based on my experience as well, following trends and being a good listener and having empathy can make you spot needs in the market as well. Look, guys, I would be talking for hours and hours, but we've run out of time. So I still have to wrap up the session. So I still have 5 minutes more from my side. So I really wanted to thank you so much for your time, Bayal, Ria, Ibrahim. It's been a pleasure. I'll share your details with the people who attended the presentation, where they can find you on social media, because some people want to reach out. And yes, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you so much for being
Thank you
here.
for having us. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
And so now I am unmuting them. I'm going to take back the stage. And let me take you through the last part so we can recap whatever we were learning. So you should be able to watch again my screen. As I said, you are going to have your video of the presentation. Something else that I wanted to share with you is what I'm doing. One of the parts of my business is to support entrepreneurs, people who want to launch their company. I mentor and I coach startups and SMEs. And I'm running these 6 steps that I was sharing with you program from idea to business in 2 different ways. It's a 6 weeks program. We work on assignments every week, and I either do it individually with people who want to work on one-on-one, and that's we go through the same 6 steps, or I'm setting up a coaching group that will start on the 22nd of June, and it will run through 6 weeks. So at the end of July, you'll have all the validation of all the steps that we've been talking about. So on the 1st of August, you'll have all that journey already completed. Usually this coaching program is $190 US. It's going to be $175 just for being part of my community. You can email me. I can give you more details, but it's going to have a weekly group call. It's going to be limited maximum to 10 people. And if you do the individual one, instead of $655, which is the normal price, it's going to be $580 US. What else? So you can reach me to get more information about this. And then I'm having social media and marketing workshop starting from next week, from the 15th to the 18th online. Again, it's going to be recorded, or you can join real time. A personal branding workshop on the 23rd and the 24th of June. And this is especially interesting for people who already have a business. They are an independent professional, a consultant, or a freelancer. Taking you through how to position yourself in the market, how to stand out, how to communicate yourself, your marketing plan, and a 3-month strategy plan. And what I'm running as well is a promotion for this as follows. You can either have the social media workshop and get an extra ticket that you can give to someone who may need it, or you can split the cost with someone else, or you can buy one of the 2 workshops and get the other one on top of that. So up to you to decide what you want to do. There are some questions here. I don't know if you are. Thank you to all of you. So I'm going to send a follow-up email after this with all the information about the 3 fantastic entrepreneurs, and I'm really glad that you share, guys, your time with us. I'll be sending you information as well about the workshops. If you have any doubt, any question, anything that I can support with, I'll be more than happy to do that. And I really thank you all for having joined. And as I was saying at the beginning, and this friend told me once, you keep on thinking, I'll keep on doing. And I hope that nobody can tell you this in 1 year time, that you had a fantastic idea, but someone else did it. So if you have an idea, go execute, do the steps, do your research, and hopefully you'll succeed in the market. Thank you so much for joining, and hope to see you soon.